Miso. Miso is a lovely fermented barley. They make it out of various things, but it gives a lovely savoury taste. It's also very, very high in B vitamins. Great thing to bring into your diet if at all possible, and very fundamental to Japanese cuisine. So as far as fermented foods go, miso, very interesting ingredient. Beautiful stuff. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make for this dish a miso glazed celeriac. So I'm going to just grill the celeriac. I'm going to try to keep it all as simple as I can. So with the celeriac, I'm going to cut it into nice chunks. I'm only using half a celeriac. You could use the whole thing easily. It depends how much you're cooking for and so on. But I think for me today, half is fine. Again, with a lot of savoury recipes, just use them more as a guideline. A pot of lightly salted water, chunks of celeriac, just as so. Just peel the celeriac and pop it into the water, cook it in the water until it becomes a little bit tender. It just speeds the whole process up. And that way we'll be able to finish the glaze under the grill, which makes it a very easy process. The grain I'm serving with this is barley. Kind of often forgotten about grain. Barley is packed with various types of fibre. It's got both soluble fibre and the normal kind of fibrous fibre that you'll have. Very high in magnesium, very high in B vitamins. Very good thing to bring into your diet, and a lovely source, base ingredient. Very unique texture as well, a kind of lovely chewiness to it. I've soaked my dry barley overnight, much easier to cook. And then a piece of lightly salted water, pop the barley in, cook it until it's tender, about 30 minutes thereabouts. And just take a little piece out as it's cooking. When you feel it's cooked, drain it off, cool it down, and it's good to go. For the greens, some pak choy, and I'm just going to very quickly show you how to make my glaze now. So I have about 2 tablespoons of miso paste. You'll get this in an oriental shop, even supermarkets. It's pretty common nowadays. I'm going to pop that into a small bowl. About 2 tablespoons of a light soy sauce into that. And I'm going to then put about a tablespoon of honey into it. And that's pretty much the bones of it. You don't need to use salts or anything like that with miso. And just going to give that little glaze a quick mix around. You can put a little drop of olive oil, but not much, about a teaspoonful. And just going to mix that around and use that to brush onto the celeriac just before it goes onto the grill. But for now, the celeriac is just cooking away. Pre-cook your barley, and then after that, this dish is very, very simple. So, on with the cooking. So the first thing I'm going to do is preheat a nice heavy pan for my barley, and I'm just going to add a little bit of coconut oil into that. About a small tablespoon, a couple of teaspoons. I'm going to add my onion in. I'm just going to allow them to cook until they become a little bit tender, just with the lid on. So as my onions are just cooking away gently there, I'm just going to pull them off the heat and pop them onto a separate burner. And then I'm just going to do my celeriac and start grilling that as well. So again, onto a nice pan that'll fit onto your grill. I'm going to add a little bit of coconut oil. And just allow that to melt down a little. And then my celeriac, which has been pre-cooked, and I haven't cooled it. I just removed it from the water and allowed it to dry off a little bit. I'm just going to put that in with the coconut oil and just allow that oil to kind of cover it over. Oops, and I lost one. So just going to allow those to kind of cook over a little bit, and you're not cooking them in the pan at all here. We're going to be finishing that under the grill. So, when you get a nice little coating of oil onto your celeriac, I find the pan, you could use a little roasting tray that fits underneath, but I find the pan is quite handy for this. And there's my little celery, or my miso honey soy sauce mixture. I'm just going to pop that over the celeriacs. You could use a little pastry brush for this, or just spoon it on. It's whatever is most convenient for yourself. Now I'm just going to pop those just like that onto the grill and allow them to form a nice little glaze on top. As that's cooking, back to my onions, which have taken on a little bit of colour. And now I'm going to add my garlic in there. Also, I'm now going to add my thyme. You could use a little bit of fresh thyme, I just didn't have any handy, but the dry thyme is a good little ingredient. And I'm going to add my turmeric. Next up, I'm just going to add my cashew nuts. And then finally, I'm going to add my barley, along with a little bit of turmeric. Now, if you remember, the barley had been cooked in lightly salted water, so seasoning is probably not going to be that important. Just getting a lovely yellow from that turmeric onto the barley. And into this now, I'm just going to add about a half cup of water. And just let that warm through now and absorb any pieces of water as well. A little bit like a risotto. Now the next job I'm going to do now with my turmeric and my lovely barley here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get my pak choy, which I just cut into just kind of chunks, kind of quartery, nice big pieces. And I can put all that in there. If it's a little dry, just add a little bit of water as necessary. And just you can leave it at a moderate heat. And bearing in mind that under my grill now, my celeriac is just glazing through as well. So I'm just going to put, if you find this is getting a little bit dry, don't worry about adding a piece of extra water. Because you do want to have enough water there to be able to steam that pak choy without it overcooking and without it burning. And then I'm just going to pop the lid on that and let that pak choy tenderize. So at this point, as you can see, I have this lovely, simple little barley dish with your pak choy and lovely vibrancy. I'm just going to just adjust the seasoning a little bit. Add a little pinch of salt, a little bit of pepper in there, and that's pretty much my barley ready to go now. So I'm just going to pull that off the heat, leave the lid on it, and then just check on my celeriac. So there's my celeriac, just out of the grill. I probably could have used a pastry brush, would have avoided quite a lot of the miso, excuse me, the miso getting on a pan. But as you can see, the celeriac itself has got a lovely glaze and a lovely flavour to it. So I'm just going to put that aside now. And to serve this dish, just going to get my plate.